Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is in the hot seat for the harsh comments he made about people with autism in a news conference earlier this week. WIFR news reporter Anthony Ferretti talks with two local autism organizations who say they are frustrated by these comments.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention released a report Tuesday which estimates 1 in 31 kids nationwide have autism. That is up from roughly 1 in 36 in 2020.
These are kids who will never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job.
Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr. faces criticism for those comments he made about people with autism.
It's unfair and it's frustrating. They certainly pay taxes. They're certainly potty trained.
These words hit close to home for the Superhero Center for Autism. They serve roughly 600 local families, ranging from people who can live independent lives to others who may need more care.
Not only is that disheartening for our families, it's also really, really tough for a lot of our individuals that have autism to hear things like that and to understand that, you know, the world is seeing them in a different way just because they see the world in a different way.
Jim Taylor says autism is diverse. There is not one way to describe all people with the disorder. People with autism are not disabled, they're differently able.
Individuals with autism are also discovering a lot of things about themselves, and they're being given these opportunities in these spaces to try new things and to learn these skills.
Nonprofit RAMP says RFK's words are harmful, and autistic people have always been and will be vital members of our society. This thinking reinforces damaging stereotypes and erases the real experiences of millions.
These are people that can advocate for themselves, can speak for themselves, are fully aware of their needs and their abilities, and it's really, really, really important to listen now more than ever.
Data from the CDC shows autism spectrum disorder is roughly 5 times more present in 2022 than it was in 2000 when 1 in 150 children were diagnosed with it.
Thank you, Anthony. RFK Jr. says he plans to have a study to see if environmental factors have led to the rise in the number of people who are diagnosed with autism.